And next, we turn to the emerging and frontier markets in Africa, Asia and the Caribbean and Latin America. Crown Agents Bank connects traditionally hard-to-reach regions to global financial infrastructure, offering competitive, fast and reliable settlements.
It has worked alongside central banks and government bodies to support stability by making currency transactions and international payments efficient and dependable. So, some of its key work involves supporting organisations driving change on the ground, such as development agencies and NGOs that depend on fast, predictable flows of funding.
And to discuss the bank's work in more detail, we're joined by Iain Stredwick, Senior Vice President, Head of EMEA Network Management at Crown Agents Bank, and Gavin Fourie, Senior Vice President, Head of Payments Product at Crown Agents Bank. Welcome to you both. Looking very fresh face on the first day here at Sibos. We'll check in with you in a few days' time. Iain, I'm going to start with you, sir. Crown Agents Bank operates in frontier and emerging markets, but what challenges do your clients face and how are you helping them?
Well, firstly, I'll start with a bit of background on Crown Agents Bank. So, we have a long track record and history of working and connecting between major economies and emerging market economies. We work with large commercial banks and central banks in those emerging markets, and we help connect them with the global financial system, offering things like access to correspondent banking, dollar liquidity, provision of foreign exchange, and trade finance as well. And working with those banks, we've built up a unique network of partners who act as both clients and partners to us. And that enables us to access liquidity in their markets and their payment rails to offer to other client segments of ours. One of which is the humanitarian and development sector. So we are a trusted partner of many of the sort of multilaterals, NGOs, big charities, etc., helping them to source funding for their projects in emerging economies. And finally, for sort of payment providers, largely banks and some non-bank payment service providers, we act as an extension of their own networks. So where they wouldn't have their own network and capabilities to provide to their clients in some emerging economies, we act as their kind of gateway, etc., to those markets. And a critical advisor to them.
OK, speaking of markets, how does Crown Agents Bank actually adapt its services to meet the needs of clients in all these different regions and markets?
We provide a wide range of solutions for clients to interface with us to meet their workflows. In many ways, it's often the types of clients that vary rather than specifically the region. So you'll have some clients, particularly more in the NBFI space, who are keen to integrate via API and to access our FX and payment services, whereas many banks use SWIFT because that's what's available and that's ready to go. So we allow clients to really adapt, they'll keep their workflows without having to adapt that to us. One of the things we're really excited about launching in the next couple of weeks is our SWIFT to ACH offering, where we'll be able to take SWIFT inbound messages from our clients and be able to send that through into local payment rails, which will expand the range of offering that we have for many of our clients, both in emerging and major markets.
Iain, you mentioned supporting the aid and humanitarian sector. Are there needs different to other segments, and how do you help them deploy humanitarian response swiftly when needed?
Sure. We're in a unique position where we can act as that gateway to emerging markets for those agencies, and we're privileged really to work with some of the agencies that we do work with. It's the household names, it's the well-known ones, and we're fortunate to have those relationships with them. There's a few examples of where CAB has been kind of, to some extent, the last option for them to be able to connect to those markets. And we supported the build out, and we still maintain a bridge with Afghanistan, which supports humanitarian aid flows into the country, but also helps with some critical payments out of the country, largely for humanitarian purposes, but also for essential utilities and needs like that. And also, fairly recently this year, we had the earthquake in Myanmar, and we act again as one of the primary solutions for clients to get their funds into and out of Myanmar for the humanitarian purposes as well.
Now, Gavin, I'd love to turn to you. What are the challenges you face when dealing with historically underserved markets?
Financial crime compliance is obviously the key to all of this. We are a bank. We operate. We're regulated in the UK. We need to ensure that our correspondents and our clients are operating, fully above board. So that might mean visits out to markets by our FCC team, or it could mean kind of staying in touch day to day. I think the other aspect is really understanding, the settlement of payments and so forth. That's something that in more developed markets we're very used to knowing that things are instant and knowing that things have really got there finally. That's not always as easy in many of these markets. And I think staying close to some of the challenges on the ground is really important. I think Iain and his team, for example, often distribute circulars internally to clients where there are political unrest, anything like that may affect the offering that our clients can use. So that's really key to stay up to date with that.
Iain, given the importance of partnering locally and globally, how does Crown Agents Bank approach partnerships and to ensure long-term value?
So this is an area where I'm massively biased in my role. So being in the position where I have to look after the network of banks that we work with around the world, really I think for us it's the backbone of what we do. Every transaction that flows through Crown Agents Bank ultimately ends up going through a partner. Every penny that we source from liquidity providers is ultimately a partner to us. So having that network as our USP is kind of the key for us. The way we look at partnerships really is kind of reciprocal, and that's why a lot of our network partners and clients are now sort of interlinked. So there are some network partners that have become our clients over time and vice versa as well. And really that reciprocity is kind of the key. There has to be something in it for both parties. We're providing them with a service which is essential for them, and they're providing us with a service which is essential for our clients. And that's how these partnerships work.
And Gavin, just looking ahead, what do you see as the role of technology and innovation in really driving even greater inclusion when it comes to ease of payment flows? I think this is going to be a big topic over here at Sibos this week.
Absolutely. So for us, inclusion is really at the heart of what we do. We're connecting emerging markets to the global financial system and making it easy for trade and other flows. Clearly, some of the topics to watch that we're investigating, stablecoins, to improve settlement speed, add some interesting smart features on top of basic payment flows, as well as, of course, AI. And now that's really to improve financial crime compliance and so forth, whilst improving speed and reducing delays, which should all help.
And Iain, final question, sir. What are the barriers to progress and how are we going to overcome them, perhaps?
Sure. I think actually Gavin's kind of touched on it. I mean, I think technology is both a opportunity and a barrier. I think if you look at a lot of the payment technology that's taken place over the last and the expansion and really the kind of interruption that's happened over the last sort of 5-10 years, a lot of it's been focused on emerging markets, and I think it's largely been there to solve the kinds of problems that we face in emerging markets. And therefore we've ended up with a lot of different and new channels to make payments with. There's never been more ways to make a payment than there are today. And ultimately, the challenge that leads to, of course, is that you've got regulators trying to keep pace with this. We all hear and talk a lot about digital currencies and how they're being regulated, but the same applies to wallets and things like that, across and payments through QR codes and all sorts of stuff that happens across the emerging markets. So really for us, it's keeping pace with the regulatory changes, and also the interoperability between those platforms, which is ultimately what clients want, which is something where banks and basically fintechs and new providers have to connect and work together.
Well, thank you very much to you both for joining us here on Sibos TV and also putting emerging markets in the spotlight. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your week over at Sibos.
Great. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
That was Iain Stredwick, Senior Vice President, Head of EMEA Network Management at Crown Agents Bank, and Gavin Fourie, Senior Vice President, Head of Payments Product at Crown Agents Bank. Thank you to you both.